Ladies and gentlemen, the Bring the Conversation to Light luncheon will start promptly in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Grab your salad, grab your chicken salad, or perhaps a turkey and provolone, thanks to La Madeleine. Please grab your lunch and take your seats. We will be starting shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bring the Conversation to Light luncheon. We'll be starting promptly in 5 minutes. Please get your wonderful lunch from La Madeleine and take your seats. We will begin promptly at 12 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be starting promptly in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Please grab your wonderful lunch from La Madeleine and take your seats. We do start promptly at noon. Ladies and gentlemen, 1 minute, please. Grab your delicious food from La Madeleine and take your seats. 1 minute warning. Yes. Welcome, everyone, to the 11th annual Bring the Conversation to Light Luncheon. Please welcome your amazing MC, Deborah Ferguson.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to the 11th annual Bring the Conversation to Light Luncheon, brought to you by the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation. As our fabulous voice from above just said, my name is Deborah Ferguson. I'm the co-anchor of NBC5 today from 5 in the morning to 7 in the morning, and then however long they keep me in the newsroom, which some days can be very long. I am honored to be here with you today. My job this afternoon is simply to serve as your MC, to guide you through the program, to make sure we stay on time. I understand this is 60 minutes in and out, correct? Yes, I see that. All right, we're going to hold you to that. My job is also to just introduce you to a few of the special folks who are with us this afternoon. Before we get to that, and as people start making their way into the room and settling into their seats, I thought that we should get to know each other a little bit. I don't assume that people know anything about me except, oh, she's that news lady. So I'll go first. I'm a Texas gal who has lived in Fort Worth since right before middle school. I'm a TCU graduate with a broadcast journalism degree and living a dream of being a reporter. I wanted to do that since the 3rd grade. I'm married to Steve Lamb, a radio sports guy who thank you very much. Yes, I'm a fan of his too. Despite being married to this radio sports guy for 3 decades, I still don't understand the X's and O's. And he still tries to explain things to me like in terms of a sports cliche. But that's okay. We get along very nicely, very nicely. Most people want to know, well, so to be on TV at 5 in the morning, what time do you have to get up? What time do you go to bed? Get ready for it. I'm up at 1 a.m. I know. Some mornings I got to hit that snooze a couple of times. And I might be in the minority here, but I love it when we end daylight saving time. The sun is finally in sync with the schedule I need, so by 6 p.m. I am cozy in bed and falling asleep. So that's a little bit about me. Now I would like to know a little bit about you. It's your turn, and you can do this by applause. So how many of you are at this luncheon for the first time? Yes. Like that. Welcome. We are glad you are here. Again, by applause, how many of you were here as a repeat guest? We got about half and half. I love that. Whether this is your first time, whether this is the 11th time, we are honored that you are here this afternoon, here today to share an important story, to learn an important story, to help the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation bring the conversation to light. We have a wonderful, inspiring, and educational hour planned for you today. We know that some of you are with us virtually, and we appreciate that you are investing your time with us this afternoon. Whether you're joining us via screen or whether you're sitting here in the room at the Roundup Inn, we do appreciate that you have booked this slot on this day in your calendar, and you are here supporting this mission. As is the custom of this luncheon, please go ahead, jump into your sandwiches and your salads and that delicious chocolate chip cookie I see there. And we're going to continue with the program. I'd like to move into now introducing you to some key folks in the room today. A big thank you to the generous sponsors. Because of them, this event is free to the public. The sponsors are listed in your programs. A very big thank you to the sponsors for making this possible. Another group we want to recognize this afternoon is the table captains. These are the men and women who fill the tables. If you are a table captain, and there are 110 table captains here with us this afternoon, please stand. We want to see you. We want to thank you. You have taken your time and called on your networks to fill this room and bring the conversation to light. This event would not happen without you either. We also have some elected officials here with us today. Tuesday was a very big day in this country. We thank each of you for the service that you give to our community. As I call your name, please stand. I ask the audience to hold your applause till the very end. Councilmember Chris Nettles, Councilmember Michael Crane, Councilmember Elizabeth Beck, Councilmember Alan Blaylock, Fort Worth Chief of Police Neil Noakes, North Richland Hills Police Chief Michael Young, and Dr. Camille Rodriguez, District 1, Fort Worth ISD School Board. Please give our elected officials a round of applause. Except, I know, Chief Noakes, you're not elected, but you know, we're very glad you're here, sir. Thank you very much. And finally, a very special thank you to our luncheon committee, to the foundation staff, and to all of our board members who work every single day, year-round, to make this event happen. We'd like to move now into a moment of prayer and reflection. Please welcome the Chief Executive Officer of this foundation, Matt Vericke.
Please bow your heads and pray for God's blessing. God, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here today and for the life-saving services provided by the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation. We seek your support and guidance for the work being done within the community, and in a special way, ask for healing and support to all of those who suffer in darkness. For those who have lost loved ones, we ask for your comfort and care, and pray that you will use the people here and in their lives to help them see they are not alone. Please bless our food and those who prepared it, and please bless our event. Amen. Please direct your attention to the screens to learn more about our Summit for Research. Our Summit for Research is the Foundation's signature event where research meets program and practice. It brings together the top minds in suicidology and allows them to collaborate with each other and top foundations nationally. Along with an unmatched program portfolio, the Summit allows the Foundation to help drive the conversation on suicide prevention nationally and share what is working in the North Texas with the entire country.
We were very worried that if researchers solved the suicide problem, the depression problem, the anxiety problem tomorrow, that we might be in a position where they had no way to deploy it.
It can be really a humbling experience to hear what the communities are grappling with.
Sharing ideas, sharing new technology, sharing innovation, that is how we're going to be successful. We've got to work together.
I am Matt Vericke, the CEO of the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation. The Summit for Research is a chance to bring the top researchers in suicidology throughout the country together to meet, to discuss, and to reflect on their own practice, and then to connect with nationally leading organizations in suicide prevention.
When we're kind of doing our research, we ended up getting really siloed. I'm stuck in my office a lot. Maybe I talk to my graduate students here and there. Speaking for myself, I feel a little bit stuck. I'm like, I'm doing all of this research, but what does this actually do?
So I think one is really identifying barriers. So what are the barriers that foundations are experiencing? And that's not an area of research that I've explored. But I was like, that sounds like a really interesting question to try and figure out the answer to.
We originally launched this program because we saw that there was a disconnect between what researchers were really learning and implementing at a very high level, and then what was happening at the local level among foundations that were really focused on community work.
And I think the only way to tackle something like this, I mean, you can draw comparisons to things like smoking and cancer and things like that. And we've made incredible progress. How did we do that? It was by sectors of society, many sectors actually, all pulling in the same direction, all coming together.
I wanted to attend this year's Summit for Research really to hear from other like-minded organizations.
We're trying to get Hope Squads or peer-to-peer programs into the high schools, finding out from the researchers how these idolations begin, if there's further things that we can do to nip the problem upstream.
To be able to have foundations and researchers together in one room is, I think, a game changer. I just think it's incredibly important and love that the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation has led this.
It was important for M2G and our mental health initiative to partner with the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation for a few different reasons. We advocate on behalf of our partner, which is the UT Southwestern Center for Depression Research and Clinical Care. We wanted to bring their center to Tarrant County because it only existed in Dallas. We thought, well, there's so many residents here that could benefit.
M2G and MHI together focus on more of a pharmaceutical and direct intervention versus the social approaches that we take at JEHF. They bring to us a different perspective that really allows us, I think, to continue to move these conversations forward in a way that is not an either or, but a both and.
I have always had this passion for clinical psychology because I'm interested in understanding what's going on for people, what drives their thinking, and what kind of contributes to things like depression and anxiety, because I saw a lot of it in my family. This is something that's always been really close to my heart. Sorry.
My dad killed himself. It became, kind of a personal mission to prevent other families from having to go through what we went through.
We brought 30 very distinct people together for this event. And at the end of the first day, one of the researchers kind of looked around the room and said, hey, I don't say this lightly, but Dr. Joyner, I read your book, and it saved my daughter's life. And this was somebody who was not connected to this beforehand. This is somebody who, in the last 45 days, because of the work that we're doing here and the connection we made, has a whole family. And that's what this foundation is about. And we can talk about it in ethereal terms about how we help this city, but we help people and we help individuals. And to see it happen in the room when we're trying to think big is just a really beautiful thing.
The slogan of Fort Worth is where the West begins. And I think in that video about the Research Summit, what we saw and what we heard is when it comes to suicide awareness and prevention, Fort Worth is where the conversation begins. You saw him up here on stage a few moments ago leading our invocation. You saw him on the big screens. I want to tell you a little bit more about Matt Varicki. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Foundation, joined about 2 years ago. In that short time, just 24 months, he has worked to expand the programming at the Foundation. He has strived to grow and develop the board, and he primarily has focused on walking in the footsteps of Tom and Ellen. Matt came to the Foundation from education. He worked as a teacher, he was a principal, he was a president, eventually a superintendent. He graduated from the University of Notre Dame and received his Master of Education from the same. He earned his doctorate at the University of Oklahoma. I say boomer, you say? I am married to a boomer sooner. I have been trained. Matt is thrilled to be part of the great work that's being done at the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation. He's excited to lead the organization as it brings hope to those who need it. Now that I have formally introduced you to Matt Varicki, please formally welcome him to the stage this afternoon.
We were so excited to share the overview of the Summit for Research with all of you because it has been such a perfect example of how our local presence has a national impact and how things we learn save lives here in North Texas. On the screens, you're going to see all of the areas this year where we've sparked a difference. This is just this year. Starts here and then moves out nationally to Texas and beyond. What's happening here is spreading to other parts of the nation. Our focus is here, but others are taking what we're doing and they're applying it to their local communities. They're using our learnings, they're ensuring that when we discover something effective, it doesn't stay here. In that spirit, we're offering something new this year. It's a giving society that we're calling the Lightkeeper Society for those who want to support our mission differently. You're going to hear more about this opportunity when Ellen speaks later on today, but I wanted to make sure you could take a moment, review your pledge cards, and you can learn more about how you can connect using that. Each year, when I get up here, I try to share with all of you something that has helped me understand the foundation. And this year, it was really the Olympics. I spent a lot of time watching the Olympics this summer. And there's something magical about watching people who are at the absolute top of their game do things that many of us would only dream of as possible. There were many amazing moments, but it was the 1,500-meter swimming event that really kind of sent me down the rabbit hole. Bobby Finke was not expected to win the event. No American had since 1984, and although he was the American record holder, he was still slower than the competition, and on paper, no chance to win. In fact, it's safe to say that the only person who believed Bobby Finke had a chance was Bobby himself. If you watched the race, you saw them show his coach in the stands, who was nervous beyond belief, and eventually he stopped watching. He put his head down. He was sure that Bobby went out too fast and would falter before the end of the swim. But Bobby didn't falter. Bobby went wire to wire with the favorites in the race, watching with disbelief as he not only claimed a gold medal, but the world record as well. And while it's inspiring and exciting, what really intrigued me afterwards was the fact that the second place finisher and the third place finisher both had the fastest races of their career. And it turns out this isn't a fluke. When a world record is broken in track, for example, it's likely that the second place finisher also beats the previous world record. And usually the top 5 competitors set personal bests. To put it another way, before these races begin, it is thought that no one can do better than this time. And suddenly 2 or 3 or even 4 people do it all together. Psychology has actually studied this. It's called the Bannister effect, named for Roger Bannister. Roger was the first man to break the 4-minute mile. Experts said it would never happen. And now it's routine for high schoolers to do it. But we can't all be Bobby Finkes or Roger Bannisters. The good news, though, is you don't actually need to be. You don't need to be the person who believes in the impossible. You just need to follow somebody who does. In 2012, Tom and Ellen Harris were faced with the impossible. They were somehow supposed to prevent suicide, eliminate stigma, and provide hope to those struggling with depression. The foundation they built, however, has done just that. This year, we're serving 120,000 students in over 135 schools. We've trained 40,000 people on the warning signs of suicide and how to help those around them. We partnered with countless businesses and churches to offer outreach to people who weren't getting care, and we believe that we can absolutely end suicide. If you're new to the foundation, the way we do that is by teaching everyone what warning signs look like and how they can help someone seek treatment. Up to 75% of the people who will die by suicide in Tarrant County this year will not have contact with a doctor or a mental health care professional before their death. We've got other problems. But the biggest one is that people don't even know they're sick, and they never even get a chance at treatment. We provide that chance through our network of people who have been trained in how to save our life. We can only do this work because of the tremendous partnerships that allow us to expand our offerings and connections dramatically. One of those partnerships is with Bell, who is here with us today. Bell made us one of their anchor organizations to demonstrate their commitment to mental health care in our community. And their generosity allowed us, over the past 6 months, to reach areas of the community we never could before, and it is absolutely changing the community. If you take nothing else away from this luncheon today, hear this. Suicide has been rising everywhere in this country for the past 20 years. Last year, I told you that we helped cut youth suicide in Tarrant County in half. In 2024, all suicides, every single suicide in Tarrant County has been reduced by 20% so far. What we're doing with your support is working. And we're not going to stop until everyone has the opportunity for care. And even if you're sitting here at your table thinking, you know what, that sounds impossible, don't worry. You just have to follow somebody who believes. You just have to follow the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt. One of the people who believes in the work of this foundation and who follows it is board member, one of the founding board members of this foundation, and that is Jordan's uncle. Please welcome to the stage, Adam Grossman.
Good afternoon. My sister Ellen is a wise and wonderful woman who often provides me with sage advice. When she invited me to speak this year at the luncheon, she told me, and I quote, "Keep it short and sweet, buddy, okay?" I've learned that it's always best to take my big sister's advice, so I'll be brief. The catalyst for this amazing foundation was the tragic loss our family suffered when my niece Jordan died by suicide in March of 2012. Jordan was a spectacular young woman, an opinion shared by her friends, family, teachers, and colleagues. She was brilliant, beautiful, inside and out. After graduating as valedictorian of her high school class of 700, she began dedicating herself to a life of service. She volunteered with Catholic Charities of Fort Worth, and during her college years worked at a battered women's shelter in Boston, went to Africa to help blighted communities in Ghana, and did work in the poorest neighborhoods of Buenos Aires, Argentina during her junior year abroad. Jordan's charity work and legacy continues through this foundation. When Jordan died, it was a tremendous shock to our family because we did not see it coming. And that is the unfortunate reality of many other families with kids that take their own lives. That is why the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation supports a variety of innovative programs designed to address the root causes of suicide in schools before it happens. We do this with practical and effective programs that provide kids with peer support and help teachers and administrators recognize the signs of a child who needs help. Our peer-to-peer programs help train students in ways to identify risk factors in themselves and others and how to report those concerns to trusted adults. These kids serve as the eyes and ears of the school and report to adults any student who seems to be struggling or at risk for suicide. They are trained on how to identify at-risk students, provide them with friendship and support, and seek help from an adult. One such peer-to-peer program, Hope Squad, is now active in 135 schools, which covers over 120,000 students in North Texas. These programs save lives. Another program funded by your support is QPR training. QPR stands for Question, Persuade, and Refer. This training helps adults to recognize the warning signs of potential suicide, offer hope and support, and get a struggling individual the help they need. The foundation has multiple QPR programs designed to spread this vital training throughout the community. And this includes free QPR programs, sponsored programs by employers, and Spanish language programs, all designed to disseminate the training broadly throughout the community. It helps people understand suicide more clearly and gives them actionable ways to help. It also destigmatizes suicide and depression by getting people to talk about it, by bringing the conversation to light. A QPR session costs the foundation only $250 to offer and can train 30 people. As you'll hear today, these programs are working extremely well, and your generous support today will definitely save lives. Another focus of the foundation's activities is on academic research, but always with a practical focus. The foundation has invested more than $700,000 in funded research. A few quick examples. This year we are funding Dr. Craig Bryan at Ohio State University. He's working on a protocol that will provide faster treatment for suicidal individuals, bringing down by 2/3 the time it used to take to provide critical treatment, reducing the lag time from 12 weeks down to 4. Another study funded by the foundation at UT Southwestern looked at biomarkers in patients as a predictive way to assign the correct antidepressant drugs. That study cut down the amount of time needed to determine the effectiveness of a treatment from months to weeks. These programs save lives. Our focus is on practical results through both this important academic research and the ongoing QPR, school-based peer, and other programs funded by the foundation. We are extremely cost-conscious and make sure we get the most out of every contributed dollar. I hope you will consider generously supporting our mission to dramatically reduce the incidence of suicide in our community. I think Jordan would be proud of what we're doing here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Adam. You've heard from people here at the podium talking about things the foundation has done. If you would, turn your attention to the screens to see what the foundation has been up to in the past year.
I am Matt Varicki, and I am the CEO of the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation. 75% of the people in Fort Worth who die by suicide never have contact with a doctor or a psychological professional. It's really important that we continue to expand our outreach to people who just are not getting the care that they need. And so we've begun to look at the workplace, at churches, and various other community events where people gather so that we can meet people where they're at and really provide this service in a much different way than we've ever thought of before.
So our partnership with the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation has been a really important part of our staff care this year. I sat in on a training and learned about QPR, so question, persuade, refer, and was just so struck about how that would really be an important training to bring to our employees at Cook Children's. Healthcare workers are at 2 times the risk of completing suicide. Letting them know that their life is sacred is to bring this training to them so that they know that if they are experiencing a mental health crisis at work, that we are the safe people that they can come to. We've had 14 interventions where we've been able to talk to 14 of our employees that have been in crisis and get them the health care that they need.
As a Tarrant County probation officer, I currently work under a specialized program called the RISE program, working with women that are coming out of sexual trauma or abuse that are on for felony probation. This training was really helpful in terms of being able to address both at a professional level, but also at a client level of how to engage and be sensitive to red flags or warning signs. Personally, I've never had moments of suicidal thoughts or ideations until I walked through postpartum depression. There are moments where I've had to stop and buffer. As a professional, now I'm able to at least recognize how valuable it is at a personal level when working with clients. I think that QPR can be beneficial, not just at the probation level, but beyond that within the county and within the state and nation.
Specific to the Black community, the stigma that's been around regarding suicide really has been more of taboo. And so within our congregation, we handled it in a way, it was a little bit more casual until we were connected with the programs and just beginning to share with us about suicide prevention, recognizing it and acknowledging it.
One of the things that I think has been just really dramatic has been how people are responding to these trainings, which we're providing out within the community. These conversations change lives, and so we just have to be everywhere people are and meet them where they're at.
I want you to know that going through the process, not only was I extremely proud, but those who are in our congregation who also attended and went through the process was also awarded a certificate to prove that we went through the process and that we are now qualified. So we challenge each of you to go through the process and become a gatekeeper. You make a world of difference.
The most incredible thing we've seen is a 50% drop in youth suicides here in Tarrant County. We know that the programs that we offer help save lives, but when you get to the scale that we're at, covering 120,000 students across all of these schools, it can really start to make a difference. All of us for the last 20 years have been sitting around and just seeing these numbers go up and up and up and up every single year. And so to finally have a beachhead, to finally be at a position where we're starting to see this change, really has made all the difference, I think, for our team and for the people here in Tarrant County.
One thing that we noticed about our students is they really needed some help transitioning back to the traditional school setting. Some of the mental challenges that our students were experiencing, especially after they returned from remote learning and from being at home with their learning during COVID, I can think of one instance in which one of our Hope Squad members helped another student.
A friend once texted me even after he graduated. He told me he felt like the hard question, that he felt suicidal. I recalled back to the thoughts of the hotlines I suggested him, the strategies that I learned within the Hope Squad conferences.
One of my fellow teammates, she had seemed off for a couple of weeks, and I didn't really think too much about it, but one day she had posted something on social media. So I reached out and I talked to her, and she told me she felt suicidal, so I reached out to my counselors.
Many times our students are telling their peers when they have mental health challenges, and they're not always likely to go to an adult. And so I think it's important to train our students so that they can find these early warning signs, let them know what their peers are experiencing so that there's an adult that can reach out and help them.
The thing that surprised me the most about joining the Hope Squad was that they were super comfortable about talking about these hard topics.
I think it's important to talk to the kids as early as middle school because that's when it basically all starts. With the bullying, the different groups of people.
Talking about it more, it made me feel more comfortable to know that it's okay to not be okay.
We have incredible people here at JEHF, and the way that they've thought about approaching this problem here in Tarrant County gives me hope that it is ultimately solvable. I don't think that you can have a conversation about the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation without talking about Jordan. And over again, I think that her story is really kind of the guiding light that explains everything that we do. We now have 120,000 kids that are covered. We have countless businesses. We have 40,000 people in this area who've been trained in suicide prevention. But we've got 5 people at this foundation who back us up each and every day, and to make it so that they absolutely can eliminate suicide in North Texas.
Some absolutely incredible work done by this foundation in just the past year. I want to introduce you to someone else. That's my job up here, right? To introduce you to our special guest. This one, his name is Barry King. Barry is one of the foundation's board members. I know Barry as an artist. I know Barry as a friend to the greatest, Muhammad Ali. If you haven't heard that story, you should. I know him as the husband to the fabulous Leah King. Today, we will all learn something else about him. Please welcome Barry King.
Good afternoon. I am Barry King. I am a suicide attempt survivor, and I am here to share my story. I was born in 1955 with anxiety. As a baby, there were only 2 people that could soothe my anxiety. One was my mother, The other was my brother George. My father and my grandmothers could hold me for a short time, a very short time, before I had to go back to the comfort of my mother or my brother. In 1955, the world didn't have the types of diagnosis about mental health, development of infants and babies, and children, teens, or even adults. The anxiety that I was born with was only diagnosed 60 years after my birth. The anxiety from my childhood created a very up and down existence for me and my family. There were certainly more ups than downs, yet no one knew why Barry was like this. Whether there were big things or small things going on within our family, for me, if they didn't go the way my brain and my thought process felt they should go, it would lead me to an anger meltdown. Without the proper medical and mental help, my family simply didn't understand my reaction to things and misinterpreted my cry for help. This resulted in common phrase within my family about me in those situations. Barry's just being evil. Now I must tell you, that phrase stuck in my mind throughout my childhood, my teen years, and my early adult years, until I was finally diagnosed with clinical depression, which means my brain does not make enough serotonin. This depression led to an internal self-hatred. That diagnosis came about by doctors after I went to the Human Resources Department of my employer in 1989 for help. I checked into an amazing mental health care hospital where I went through a battery of tests and sessions with psychiatrists and a number of therapists. They put me in a group and individual therapy, sessions for the 20 days that I was hospitalized. That's when I came to understand what my problem was. And for the first time, with the help of an antidepressant, which treated my brain with extra serotonin because my brain didn't make enough for me to be stabilized daily, I finally felt like Barry. The anxiety edge in my bouts of clinical depression were taken down, way down. I still went through life's challenges, but my mental health was better. My parents and my brothers, George and Daryl, had a greater understanding of who, what, and why I was Barry. I had successes both personally with my son Ian being born and with my new wife Leah, who I married in 1996. She was easily the greatest gift to come into my life from God since my son Ian. Professionally, I had successes as I'd wanted to be an artist since the 3rd grade. I came to Texas to pursue my artistic dream of being a graphic designer after graduating college. I also pursued my gift as a fine artist specializing in portraiture of people. I had sold portraits to Muhammad Ali of him and to Marvin Gaye of him. I had way more ups than downs, yet still deep inside, I simply wasn't in a good place. My suicide attempt was June 2016. I was in mental pain because I had some professional career changes over the previous 3 years. I was an emotional wreck. But from the outside, no one knew it. Leah suspected something, but you learn to say, no, I'm okay. Which even though you say that, you're not. I wasn't. After 3 mental hospital stays over 20 years, I was tired. After hundreds, if not thousands of counseling sessions, I still felt deep pain, deeper than I had ever felt that day. A pain that no antidepressant can stop, and yet you remain in a functioning state of being. So I tried reaching out by phone to my brother George that day. But he, as a headmaster back east, was in the middle of commencement planning. Remember, it was June. I left no message. I called my brother Daryl, who lives in Phoenix, that day, but he was running his food truck business and was busy serving customers at the time of my call. No answer. I left no message. I took my mother-in-law, Tina, to her doctor's appointments that day. I even asked her if she wanted me to stop and get her her favorite Chinese food. She was so excited and said yes that day. So although I went about my normal things that day, I finally made the decision that I was simply tired. Tired of the pain, tired of the burden of carrying the pain, tired of this feeling of being a drag on all of those that love me. I felt my job here on earth was completed. I was done. I felt that Leah could find someone better. I was dying inside, but I made one last call. I called a friend who knew my mental health history, and he suggested I go to one of the outpatient group therapies that I had attended in the past. So I drove out to Arlington to Millwood Hospital to one of their group therapy sessions. But it had been a heavy downpour all day, so they canceled that session. My unhealthy mind read this as a confirmation of my thoughts all day. Today is that day. I'm done. I'll end my life. That'll be it. I had written goodbye letters to Leah, to my two brothers, and I sent the one from my son Ian to my older brother George. I emailed them all that evening. I was at home with the TV on, tuned to the NBA Finals. But the TV was more like watching me. I was in a blank state of mind. Well, after Leah went to bed around 10, I decided on my plan. A little after midnight, I left the house. I had gotten all my prescription medicines and I put them in Kleenexes. I stuffed them in both my pockets. I didn't take the bottles because I remember growing up how the doctors found the bottles that Marilyn Monroe had taken on her bedside, so I didn't want the bottles with me. I went to one of the hotels on University Drive and across from the Apple store and checked in. I had printed out all 4 of the goodbye letters, and I read them one last time when I got into the hotel room. Once I read them, I tore them into small pieces and flushed them down the toilet. I put that big hotel room chair against the door, put the security chain on the door, sat on the side of the bed, and researched on my phone what combinations among my meds would end my life. It listed online the combination of the various pills and details on how many to take. It said it would either end my life or leave me with major organ damage. I had 124 prescription pills, enough to kill 4 people, and I took them all. Yes, I took 124 of them. My body tried to push them back up, but I was determined to keep them down in my stomach. That's the last thing I remember. As I went to sleep listening to one of my favorite pieces of music, the soundtrack to Schindler's List. At home around 2 a.m., Leah said she came downstairs looking for me. I wasn't in the house, and she had discovered that my car was gone. She remembered that the iPad on my nightstand had lit up earlier. She discovered that I had gotten a message from our bank because I had spent over $50 on the hotel room. From that bank alert, she found out where I was. She called the hotel, described me, told them my name, and asked did he check in? The night manager confirmed I had checked in. She told him she was concerned about me and asked him to go check on me. He did, and he called Leah back, telling her that he could only get the door partially open because security chain kept him from getting in the room, but he could hear me breathing in the darkened room. He told her that the maintenance man would be at work within a few hours and could cut the security chain on the door to get into the room. She said that wasn't soon enough and that he needed to call the police because she was afraid I was in danger of harming myself. So he did as she asked. The police, fire department, and paramedics got there and rushed me to Fort Worth's Trauma One Hospital, John Peter Smith Hospital, same hospital where they take every policeman who has been shot in this area. Once there, I was rushed into the intensive care where they spent hours trying to revive me. I was in a coma. Over the next hours, my blood pressure began to drop. My organs began to shut down. The doctor in ICU asked Leah if I had a DNR document, the do not resuscitate, because they were losing me. She told them, yes, I had one. The doctor said she'd best get it. From the beginning, she had everyone among our family and friends praying for me. After 2 days of being in a coma, no one, including the doctors, knew what the final outcome for me would be. On the morning of the third day, I was still unconscious. Then God woke me up. One of my best friends, Anthony Sampson, was at my bedside. He said he continued to talk to me and my hand moved. That was the first sign of life I had shown. He was shocked and quickly went and got Leah. She came into the room and was quite surprised. Her and many people's prayers had been answered. Once I woke up, honestly, I was shocked to still be alive. When someone survives a suicide attempt, the local judge becomes the guardian. John Peter Smith Hospital had a judge from Tarrant County there in the facility to take over a patient's well-being and affairs. The judge assigned a social worker to me and to oversee my well-being. The judge determined after talking with the social worker and reviewing my medical file that I needed to go to a mental health facility. So on that Monday, I was driven by a policeman in his cruiser to a facility in South Tarrant County. As I was getting in the car, he asked me if I was in a safe condition to not be handcuffed and placed in the back seat. See, he was surprised at my state of being. He said I seemed okay, which is still proof that the hard thing about mental health versus physical health is that mental health simply doesn't always have the same visible effect that people can see like physical health has. I told him after surviving what I had tried, I was okay. So he let me ride up front with him. 72 hours later, I never would have imagined me taking that ride. My ride started the healing process of a second life. So with that saving of my life that only God could do for me, as far as the God that I know, I didn't need religious or spiritual authority to verify that. I was brought back by God to a full, healthy mental and physical life, with all of my internal organs and processes still functioning in the way God had planned it. In closing, I want to stress, and let me make this really clear, that I don't share my story so anyone will think, well, it happened to Barry, maybe it will happen for me. No, no, no. I share my story openly. Even with all the years of fighting my known mental health issue, I still didn't do the next right thing, which was tell someone that I was suicidal. I tried, but I didn't try enough. That's the greatest lesson I got from God saving my life. Always, even now, tell someone. My family who is seated to my right, they know they can ask me anytime, how's my mental health? Just like they do with my physical health. I will always be a recovering mental health suicide survivor. And for that, I'm blessed and glad to be able to say that and share with you my story. I do want to thank my wife, Leah, our son, Ian, his wife, Aronia, my brother, George, and his wife, Charlize, and a host of loving friends that are here in attendance today. They give me unbelievable love and support. I want to thank Ellen, Tom, Harris. You know, when I recovered, I didn't know. I asked God, what do you want me to do? He led me here, Ellen. We met, and you asked me to come aboard. The Harris family that started this life-changing foundation in honor of their daughter, Jordan, as well as my fellow board members and foundation president, and the great staff of this foundation, to those here and those of you who are joining us online, thank you for the amazing support you give Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation. It is my pleasure now to welcome Ellen Harris.
Thank you, Barry, for standing up here and sharing that unbelievably emotional story. Good afternoon. Thank you all for attending this year's Bring the Conversation to Light luncheon. To say a lot's been happening lately is a bit of an understatement, no? We've elected a new president, and whether you're thrilled or devastated, one thing remains critically important: maintaining good mental health. Because without that, your life can quickly spiral out of control. I am incredibly proud of the impact the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation has had on people's mental health and suicide prevention within Tarrant and the surrounding counties. Back in the 1820s, a man in France who you probably never heard of, named Augustin Jean Fresnel, invented something that saved millions of lives: the Fresnel lens, which allowed for the development of the modern lighthouse. Before the lighthouse, the darkness of the sea at night and rocky coastlines claimed thousands of ships. After the lighthouse, it didn't matter how dark the night was, the light was powerful enough to cut through it. Sailors who up until then had no idea of the danger they were in suddenly had a light that could lead them to safety. Most of the people who'll die by suicide this year will not know they're in danger. They won't see a doctor or a therapist, and largely it's because they don't know they're sick. The only solution is to provide light in the darkness. At the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation, every dollar you give helps to shine light into that darkness. Since 2022, the youth suicide rate has dropped by half in Tarrant County. So far this year, the overall rate of suicides has dropped by nearly 6 people per month. That means that so far this year, 60 families are still whole, and 60 families have made it through the darkness. What we are doing is working, and I'm here to tell you that things are not getting worse. I believe we will solve this, and I invite you to help us do that. You can make an impact. With your help, we can make sure that every member of our community has a lighthouse. I know because you're here that you care deeply about our mission and you want to see progress. Progress is the Summit for Research, an opportunity for us to bring together the top minds in their field and turn their research into life-saving action right away, because the people who most need our help can't wait years for it to trickle down. Progress is the 14 interventions that Kristen Burrow of Cook Children's spoke of within the Cook community. Those folks are the healthcare providers who are devoted to saving the lives of others, but who are twice as likely to complete suicide. QPR, our Gatekeeper Suicide Prevention Program, saved them. Progress is Kiana Headland, the Tarrant County probation officer, who learned the importance of QPR not only professionally, but personally after suffering from postpartum depression herself. She now realizes the importance of expanding that program throughout the county and beyond. Progress is Soul Shop, helping Shavoyd Hamilton fight the stigma of suicide within his congregation and giving his congregants the freedom to talk about their mental health without shame. Now he and many of those same congregants are trained gatekeepers. Progress is 120,000 students being impacted by Hope Squad, just like the students at Castleberry ISD who shared their suicidal feelings with Hope Squad members and got the help they need. And Progress is Steve, the squad member in the video, who now knows that it's okay not to be okay. We can only provide these programs with your help. I am so excited to announce that an incredibly generous donor has agreed to match up to $50,000 in donations at our luncheon today. So I hope you will give generously. Please use the QR code you see on the screen or on your pledge cards. You can also fill out the cards or text to give, whatever is easiest for you. Additionally, this year, like Matt shared earlier, we're inviting you to join our new annual fund called the Lightkeeper Society. This annual membership is an opportunity to get further invested in our work and get insider knowledge about the critical work we're doing here in North Texas. You can refer to the back of your pledge card for more information. As always, we are incredibly grateful for whatever amount you feel moved to give to support these life-saving programs. And of course, the beautiful orchids on your table are available for a suggested donation of $30. In closing, I'll quote Anne Frank, who once said, "How wonderful that no one need wait a single moment to improve the world. Now is your moment." Thank you very much.
Thank you to Ellen, to Adam, to Matt, and to Barry King. You made it through the darkness, Barry, and we need your light. And we need the light of so many other people who get to that moment and don't know where to turn. This organization gives them a place. This is a tremendous cause. We are honored that you took the time to listen to our story, to support this mission. We hope that something that you have seen or heard or felt today has moved you to join this cause with your donation. Thank you for spending an hour with us, for investing your time. Please drive home safely, and we hope to see you next year and bring some friends with you.